For most of my life, I felt broken. It showed up in my relationships, my work, and the way I spoke to myself. No matter how much I achieved, I still felt unworthy, unseen, and alone. But everything changed when I started healing my inner child. I found peace where there used to be chaos, built friendships that actually felt safe, and created a life that feels like me again. I'm Nicole, a foster mom and inner child healing coach, and this is Heal Out Loud. Each week, we'll blend science, soul, and real talk to help you stop feeling broken and start becoming the person you've always needed. Because healing isn't quiet, it's time to heal out loud. Hello and welcome back to another episode on Heal Out Loud. And today's episode is all about how trauma sabotages relationships. Your relationships, unless you're in very toxic relationships, they are not the problem, but they are the mirror. And we're going to be opening all about this and diving deep into this topic. We're going to be talking about how you're not unlucky in love, but instead we're going to dive deep into the patterns that you have that are continuously making you choose the same person in a different face and in a different body, which means that you keep on repeating the same patterns over and over again in every single relationship that you have. And I want this episode to help you create the awareness so you can attract better relationships into your life, to be a better partner, and also to not take all the blame and to not point fingers and point all the blame at the other person. So I want this episode to give you the awareness, to give you the tips that you can use to have more fulfilling, loving relationships, and as well as having the awareness without the shame. So this episode is not here for you to shame and blame yourself. It's here to help you be more kind and compassionate towards yourself, because you will have a deeper understanding to why your relationships look the way they do. So I'm going to start by explaining how the brain works. So basically you have your brain, which is divided into two parts. 5% is the conscious brain. It's the brain that you're using to listen to this podcast, to watch this episode. And then there's the 95%, which is made up of your subconscious. And your subconscious brain is that brain that goes into action when you're driving from work, going back home, and you have absolutely no idea how you arrived home. It's like you were driving on autopilot. That is your subconscious brain. And anything that happened between the ages of 2 till 10 years old, so for example, it didn't need to be big trauma. It could have been minor traumas, your parents not being fully emotionally available for you, your parents going to work. So basically what happened to you between the ages of 2 and 10, you started collecting information and you started storing it into your subconscious brain. Think of it like a computer with no software. Whatever you input in that computer becomes its ultimate software. That is your subconscious brain. And maybe consciously, using your 5% conscious brain, you want to have a healthy, loving, fulfilling relationship. And then as soon as you're in a relationship, the same patterns, the same toxic traits that you had, the same patterns of attracting different partners, but they're basically the same, they start showing up in your relationships, because that's when the subconscious brain takes over. So let's say, for example, you have a sibling, and your mom decides to take your sibling to go shopping with her to the supermarkets. And as a kid, you make that mean that there's something wrong with you, that you're not good enough, that your mom prefers your brother or your sister. And you start inputting that information into your subconscious brain. Then, for example, you have some experiences at school where a teacher shouts at you, or some friends exclude you, or maybe there's bigger trauma. Maybe your dad was not available, or your dad was always working and he never had time to spend with you. Or your dad was an alcoholic, or your mom was a drug addict, or your mom was just separated from your dad and she decided to start going out meeting new men, so she didn't have as much time to spend with you. So all these things that start happening around you when you're a kid, you start making them mean something about you, that you're not good enough, that there's something wrong with you, that you're not lovable, that everyone leaves. And these limiting beliefs get stored into your subconscious brain and they make your full identity. And as I explained earlier, although you want to have a loving, fulfilling relationship, although you desire that, although you crave that, as soon as you have it, it's like you do not know how to act, you do not know how to trust, you do not know how to not feel insecure, you do not know how to not fear abandonment, and this is not your fault. This is because of the limiting beliefs that you have stored in your subconscious brain. So then, for example, you're in a relationship with someone and it starts off really well, and then 3 months in, the attachment starts kicking in, the love starts kicking in, and all of a sudden you start worrying that you can't trust this person, you start fearing abandonment, you start overgiving so they stay in the relationship, you start pleasing your partner so they definitely do not run away from you, you start questioning, you start trying to control, because when you were a kid, being in control meant that you are safe. But what made you feel safe as a kid is now sabotaging your peace as an adult. And sometimes when we are in relationships, it is hard to see the other person's perspective. And all of a sudden, all you're thinking about is what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're going through. And it seems like the other person has to let go of their life and all of a sudden just take care of you. But that is because you're trying to heal the unhealed wounds from your parents through your partner. And your partner can definitely never heal the wounds that were created in childhood. However, you can share slowly, and together you can build a loving, fulfilling relationship. So let's say you are in a relationship or you're dating someone, and this person decides that he wants to go out with friends. And you make that mean that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy enough, that if you are good enough, they would want to spend their time with me, not with their friends. And this is coming from a wound. This is coming from the limiting belief that is stored in your subconscious brain. However, when you're acting this way, you're pushing the person away, because now the person feels like they do not have any independence anymore, that they are being controlled, they are being told what to do, and this frustrates the other person a lot. And so they start pulling away even more, and you start panicking even more. Or let's say, for example, you have this belief that you will always be left and that you will always be on your own, so you do not give your 100% in the relationship, because the thoughts that you have are, the person will still leave anyways, and people do not truly love me. So why should I show love? Why should I express love? Why should I go over and above for this person? So the way you react and the way you act in a relationship is all coming from your subconscious brain, from the programming that is stored in your subconscious brain. So the relationship is there as your mirror. So if, for example, you're feeling angry, you feel exhausted, you feel like you're constantly giving, and you're never receiving anything in return, instead of getting angry at the person and calling the other person names and saying how much you've done for them and how much you've gifted them and that they do nothing in return, instead of focusing on this, try and go inwards and think and analyze, why am I feeling exhausted? Why am I feeling so much anger towards this person? Why am I feeling so much resentment towards this person? And the answer lies within. And that is because you are overgiving, for example. So instead of using the other person as your punching bag, instead of begging the other person to give you as much as you're giving them, why not take all that energy and redirect it back to you? Or if, for example, you're feeling suffocated, you're feeling controlled, you're feeling like everyone walks all over you, it's understandable that you're going to see this person as the problem, because most probably this person is making you feel like that. It's true. And maybe your friends make you feel like that, and maybe your mom and your dad and your siblings make you feel like that. It seems like everyone is constantly taking from you. Everyone constantly asks you to help them. Everyone constantly calls you, messages you, they need this or that or this. And it's understandable that you're going to blame the people from outside of you. However, what about going inwards once again and using this anger, this suffocation, this frustration, this resentment as your mirror? What is happening? And maybe it's because you're people pleasing, and we people please because you might think that if I do not please this person is going to dislike me. And for me to survive, for me to feel okay, I need to be liked by everyone. Or for example, if I do not please this person, if I don't say yes to this person is going to abandon me. This person is going to leave from my life. And that maybe scares you because you don't want people to leave from your life. First of all, ask yourself, if because you're setting a boundary, if because you're saying no to someone because you need to say yes to yourself, and this person decides to leave from your life fully, was that person even worth it? Was that person even okay to be in your life? Did that person deserve a spot in your life? Because if someone leaves your life because you're setting a boundary to take care of yourself, it means that they never cared about you at all. It means that they were going to continue overstepping, calling you, texting you, wanting this, wanting that. And people who are constantly asking for things from you, they are never going to be pleased. And you might think, okay, if I do this today, then maybe they'll leave me alone and I can rest for a little while. No, they will not do that. They will continue asking, because they know that you will always say yes. They're not going to ask your sibling, for example, to do something if your sibling always says no. If your mom or your dad know that you are going to say yes every single time, definitely they're going to continue asking you. If you say yes to your partner all the time, definitely they're going to keep on asking things from you. So it's very important that you take the anger, the resentment, the frustration, and all that's happening within, instead of taking it out on your partner, on your parents, on your siblings, on your friends, go inwards and ask yourself, how am I abandoning myself? All your emotions are your messengers. There's no good and bad emotions. There's pleasant and unpleasant emotions, yes, but they are your messengers. So go inwards and check in with yourself and ask yourself, how am I abandoning myself? What can I do in this moment? And of course, you're going to feel fear to say no. And of course, you're going to feel fear if you that you're going to be disliked. But sit with that fear. You're capable of sitting with that fear. And if you do not know how to sit with your feelings, that's fine. Send me an email or send me a message and just type soul scan, and I'll send you the exact same method that I use and my clients use to sit with our feelings instead of allowing our feelings to run the show. Then there's another part in relationships where we're taking things personal. That is your first clear sign that it's your inner child that's running the show. Because when we're kids, we make everything mean something about ourselves. When we're kids, we look at our parents as our source of safety, as what we need to survive. So as kids, we never make our parents seem wrong. As kids, we always think that we are the problem. So it is very important that when you're taking things personal and when you're internalizing everything, that is your first clear sign that it's your inner child, your wounded inner child act out. So in these moments, you can just simply close your eyes, think of little you. Maybe, as I've said before, take a photo and put it on your phone of when you are 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, younger you basically, and look at this photo so you know who your inner child is. And whenever you're taking things personally, just make sure to close your eyes, think of younger you, and just let him or her know, listen, I'm here. I'm never going to abandon you. You've got me. You're not alone. I love you. There's nothing wrong with you. Any words of affirmation that your younger child needs to hear. And remind you, nothing is ever personal. We're all operating from our own wounds, from our own internal world, from our own subconscious brain. So the way someone shows up in your life has nothing to do with you, and it has all to do with their inner world. And I know you might be thinking, but this person acts really nice with some other people and they're just not nice to me. And yes, that could be true, but that might be because you remind them of someone, that might be because you trigger something in them, that might be because your light is too much, or it might be because there's something that you're clashing on, and that's fine. You do not need to be liked by everyone. You are still going to survive. You are still going to have a very good life just because you're not liked by everyone. Once you accept this, a huge weight is going to be off of your shoulders. And if you can't meet your own inner child, you're definitely not going to be able to meet your partner's inner child. And we're all operating from our own inner child. Your inner child might be wounded and your subconscious brain might have limiting beliefs stored in it like, I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me. And your partner's inner child might say that everyone is constantly asking things from me, people are always overstepping boundaries, people always leave, nobody loves me. So that's what relationships are all about, connecting with each other's inner child. But to be able to connect with your partner's inner child, you have to first connect with your own. And whenever your partner is bothering you, or anyone really, just remember that there's an inner child in there that's very wounded. And I'm not saying to accept disrespect, to accept being treated badly just because someone has a wounded inner child. No. But it's going to help you to firstly not take things personal, and secondly, to be able to detach and not make this mean something negative about you. And thirdly, it will help you to understand the other person. But of course, if the other person is being toxic, it doesn't mean that you need to stay for the disrespect that they're offering. No. Understand people, but place them where they belong. And of course, relationships are all about a lot of forgiveness and a lot of empathy and a lot of trust. However, of course, we all have our own boundaries, so make sure that you know what your boundaries are and what you would tolerate and not tolerate in a relationship. Also, men and women are created very differently biologically. A woman's body is there to receive, and the man's body is there to penetrate. So if our bodies are so different, our brains are also very different. First of all, men have a stagnant hormone, which is always constant. It's testosterone, whereas women have a different cycle every single week. And hormones are changing every single week. So even though there was this high rise of feminism, that we're all equal, there were these logos and mottos and slogans that what men can do, women can do it better. And I completely disagree. Women are really good at some things and men are really good at other. And if our bodies are so different, our brains are also very different. The way we're wired is also very different. In fact, there's a book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And it's true. So in relationships, we need to learn also about masculine and feminine energies. We need to learn about masculine and feminine communication. Men's bodies are there to penetrate, so energetically, a healthy masculine man also wants to penetrate, which means he wants to lead the relationship, he wants to offer a direction for the relationship, wants to control, he wants to provide. Whereas a woman, her body is made to receive, and energetically, she also wants to receive. She wants to receive leadership, she wants to receive directives, she wants to receive love, kindness, and men and women operate very differently. So with masculine and feminine communication, a healthy masculine man will communicate in a way that he knows he's the man, that he knows that he's taking care of his woman, meaning he's aware of what is good and what's not good for the relationship. He provides directives, he provides his leadership, whereas a woman, she can still share, of course, what's going through her mind. However, if the woman is leading, if the woman is constantly snapping around and telling her husband, oh, you never take out the rubbish, oh, you never do this, oh, you never do that, that's nagging. And that becomes annoying. And that's why we never meet each other on the same wavelength, because a woman should share her feelings. A woman should be vulnerable around a man. Of course, a man that's taking care of her heart. So what does being vulnerable mean? It means that you can share how you're feeling when your partner or whoever, siblings, parents, they forget to take out the rubbish. You can share your feelings about every single thing that you're feeling in your life. And when you're sharing your feelings, people can meet you at a much deeper level. When you're nagging, when you're shouting, when you're calling names, people are not going to understand your pain. All they're going to do is they're going to try and defend themselves. So it is very important that you pause, breathe, feel the feelings that you're feeling, and then share vulnerably. It will take a lot of practice. It's still hard for me to do sometimes, but it will take a lot of practice. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes, like everything else in life. Whereas a man, if he's going to continue allowing his woman to control the relationship, to lead, to constantly take initiative, to constantly take care of the dishes, the bills, this, that. If the man is going to let the woman take charge of everything and be in control of everything, his woman is going to be really, really unhappy because it is not aligned with her pure feminine energy. She will be using a lot of her masculine energy, which is not aligned, and it will make her feel exhausted, tired, resentful, angry. So it is very important for a man to tap into his masculinity, to feel secure in himself, and to know that he's capable of leading a relationship. And for both parties, men and women, it is very important that you speak from regulation rather than from your wound. What you're feeling right now is triggered by your partner, siblings, friends, whatever, but it is poking a deeper wound. What you're feeling right now in the moment is not just coming from the present moment. It's coming from a deep-rooted wound. And you can brush the surface level as much as you want. You can talk about Tom, Jerry, Pina, her, him, this, that, to your friends, to your family. You can keep on trying to get validation of how nasty that person was, how mean that thing that they did to you was, this, and that. You can get as much external validation as you need. However, really and truly, this is not about surface level. There's a deep-rooted wound. And until you're gonna go and meet that deep-rooted wound that you have, you're going to keep on repeating the same patterns. You're going to keep on attracting the same person, just a different face, different body. So if you really want to move forward in life, you have to stop pointing fingers outwards and you have to go within. You have to see what's happening internally. Yes, of course, everyone has good and bad. You have good and bad. The other person has his or her own good and bad. It's useless trying to analyze and talk about this person. What you really need to do is you need to go inwards. You need to see your own patterns. You need to see your own emotions. You need to see your own thoughts. You need to see your own attachment. You need to look into your own wounds, your subconscious, your limiting beliefs. What's really happening in my life? You are not a victim of your life. You are the creator of it. And this is why you keep recreating the same things on autopilot, because you're not even aware what's happening in your subconscious brain. And unless you're going to grab the awareness, the same things are going to happen over and over again. And then you can lie at home, constantly brush the story and validate the story that you have, that you're a victim, that you're so unlucky, that only bad things happen to you, that no one loves you, that there's something wrong with you, why me, why always me. And you can wallow in that story as much as you want, but nothing good is going to come out of it. Absolutely nothing. And once you start thinking better, feeling better, you're going to start attracting better. So then the story that you have is going to start dying once you start attracting better, because you're going to start getting new proof to why you're not what you think you are. So awareness is step 1. Responsibility is step 2. And again, I don't want this episode to be here to make you shame and blame yourself furthermore. No, shaming and blaming yourself is not going to get you anywhere. Imagine, think of a time when you overate and you were eating chocolate, pasta, bread, anything that was in your kitchen cupboards, you demolished. And you were shaming yourself and blaming yourself like, oh, why did I eat again? I promised myself I will not do this. What happened when you were shaming and blaming yourself? You kept on eating like an asshole even more. So the more you're going to shame and blame yourself, the worse you're going to feel. So it's time that you're kind and compassionate towards yourself. Give yourself some grace. You acted the way that you did in that relationship. You attracted that person because of these deep-rooted wounds, because of your wounded inner child. And can you think of 5, 6, 7-year-old you, maybe how lonely you felt, how alone in your emotions you felt, at school, at home? Do you blame younger you for acting the way it did in relationships? Definitely not. Younger you doesn't need more shame and blame. Younger you needs kindness and compassion. And kindness and compassion can look something like, listen, I'm aware I've done mistakes. I'm aware I've said things I didn't want to say. I'm aware I acted anxiously attached or avoidantly attached. I'm aware I've messed this up. But it's okay now. I forgive myself because that was younger me trying to earn love. That was younger me trying to feel that I matter. And I forgive myself, but I also take all responsibility to heal my inner child, so I don't make my life a living hell, as well as I don't bleed on people who didn't cut me. Remember that you do not attract what you want. You attract what's familiar, and you will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. So if you're seeing patterns being repeated constantly, if you're feeling like you're always the one being let down, if you think that nothing lasts forever, if you think you're unlovable, if you feel alone in your emotions, if you feel lost, it's time to get off the dating apps. It's time to stop trying to get external validation from other people. It's time to stop trying to be saved by another person, because only you can save yourself. And once you save yourself, you will magically start attracting better in your life. Better situations, better people, better love, because the universe will give you what you're working for. And if you're going to keep on focusing on the negative, the universe is going to continue providing more negative things, because the universe doesn't understand positives and negatives. The universe understands energy, and what the universe sees you focusing more on, it will give you more of. So go inwards, heal what you need to heal, rewire your subconscious brain, and you can do so through inner child healing. Inner child healing, reparenting your inner child, is the fastest way to rewire your subconscious brain. And take accountability, take action, express gratitude. I know some bad things are happening to you in your relationships, but at the same time, there's lots of things to be grateful for still. And I know it's hard to look at things to be grateful for when you're experiencing problems in relationships and friendships and the relationship you have with your parents or anyone really. But there's lots of things to be grateful for in life. Right now, you might be saying, so if this all works, how come Nicole is dealing with a relatively recent breakup? And the truth is that although all of this really works, life will still happen, but it will happen from a different place. First of all, I attracted a way healthier human being than I ever attracted in my life. And secondly, the fact that I didn't spiral in this breakup, the fact that I didn't react the way I used to in different breakups, that is already a huge game changer for me. So rewiring your subconscious brain through inner child healing does work. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to experience heartbreak again, but at least it will be a way smoother and calmer heartbreak, or maybe you will not experience another heartbreak in life. Who knows? But what you really need to do is you need to go inwards. You need to heal what's been hurting all along. You need to heal the inner child that's been hurting all along. And there's lots of ways to do this. There's lots of information on my Instagram, on my Inner Child Digest newsletter, on my free guides, and in my one-on-one coaching or group coaching, we do exactly this. So if you want 2026 to finally be your year, stop chasing validation from outside of you. Stop pointing fingers. Stop getting angry at every single little thing, and instead go inwards and ask yourself, what is this anger showing me? What is this frustration showing me? How can I give more to myself than to others? Where can I say no to others and yes to myself instead? And again, use this episode for self-reflection, not self-blame. It's okay for whatever happened in your past. Apologize to yourself. Apologize to the person if need be, and let's start afresh, because you deserve the very best. If today's episode made you think, laugh, cry, or want to yell at the universe, good. That means something moved. Make sure you hit follow, share this with a friend who's healing too, and remember, you don't have to heal quietly anymore. See you next week for more truth bombs, breakthroughs, and a little bit of magic.